So what I want to talk about today is why I shoot film. Not why you should shoot film. It's not a top 5 reasons. It's really the underlying reason among all of them that I shoot film. And that is because I want to shoot film as a reaction to the over-curated, over-perfected social media world. I mean, everything is just photographs of perfect models, perfect people, perfect smiles, perfect lighting, perfect location, perfect everything. And I don't want to create images like that, if for no other reason than to just be different. Like, do you want to create images that look like everyone else's? I certainly don't. I want to create images that mean something, and I don't think curated perfect images mean shit. Sorry for the profanity. I don't know if does that count, but that's why I shoot film. And there's some reasons. Let's talk about the reasons why I feel like film is a reaction to that, and let's get into it. Number one, the decisive moment. Yes, you can have a decisive moment whether you're shooting digital or film. But when you see a film shot, there's the assumption that the photographer just timed it perfectly, that they shot that one image at that one moment. And yeah, maybe they did do a burst depending on the era. I mean, Cartier-Bresson didn't shoot burst shots. He shot with the Leica. I mean, you just didn't have that option to do a burst shot. But even if you shot an iconic image in the 90s, you had burst shots available, but it wasn't quite the same. And even if you did have a 30 frames per second burst like you have today, you'd go through a roll in a second almost. So we kind of have this assumption that there was more perfect timing involved than what you would with digital. Not necessarily true, but I think it is some of the baggage that comes along with digital. It doesn't make, and there's arguments for and against. Like, I think many people would argue an iconic image is an iconic image. It doesn't matter if it was 1 out of 30 frames, it doesn't matter. But to me it does. And so that's one reason I shoot film. Another reason I shoot film, I love the imperfection. I love the character and the imperfection. And why? When I was a film student or a photography student, and just to be honest, I was actually a history major, but I practically lived in the darkroom. That's all I did in college. I wish I did more sometimes. I don't regret spending time on photography, but I wish I did maybe focus a little bit more on history as well, but I didn't. Anyway, when I was a photography student, making images, we really only had one option, and that was with film photography. And naturally, as someone who enjoys the craft, I wanted my images to look perfect. I wanted to master them. I remember just on intuition, following my gut, I could usually figure out my exposure 95% of the way in the darkroom the first try. And I could, even in color, I usually could guess my magenta, cyan, and yellow right away. But then I would spend another 4 hours on one print trying to get the last 5% of the way. And now I don't do that, because if I want a perfect image, I'll shoot digital. I do shoot digital for work. I don't shoot film for work. If I could, I probably would, but the type of work I do right now, that really wouldn't be a service to my clients to shoot an event in film. I mean, I know I would get great shots because I've tested it. I've shot a roll of film on a job here and there, and the results have been fantastic. The last one I did, out of 36 frames, 34 were not just keepers. Honestly, I felt like it was my best work, but also the 2 I missed, I knew I missed at the time. You can hear it because I'm recording it. You hear me go, crap, missed that one. And so I shot again. So number 2, the characteristics, the imperfections. And I guess, and then there's all the other reasons that you're going to find elsewhere on YouTube that people are going to talk about. It's more hands-on, and of course you can get a hands-on experience with something like a Fuji camera and all that, something more tactile. But no, it's not going to be quite the same. It's not going to slow you down in the same way as shooting film. And then I'll say another reason, and then I'll kind of end the video at that. You not only get a slower way of working, but you can also get a very quirky way of working, a very different way of working than you can get with any digital camera. I say it all the time, like with my Rolleiflex, any TLR, using that top-down viewfinder, it's a completely different experience. And if you're shooting for the experience and not just the results, you're going to really like a lot of different options film cameras have. I liken things to jujitsu a lot because that's like my other big passion in life. I've done jujitsu almost as long as I've been doing photography for a very long time, but I've done that for like 13 years, and I love the process of training. It's not about winning, trophies and all that. I left competition behind a long time ago. I realized I liked the process, and film gives you a process that's very different than digital from beginning to end. It's multi-stepped. So first you're loading your film, and then you're shooting in this very tactile way. You're very focused on what you're doing. The images should mean more. I mean, you don't have as many you can shoot on a roll. They should mean more. And then when you get to develop it, if you do it yourself, that's a whole other tactile experience. And then you get to the anticipation while you're waiting for it to dry, and then the scanning it. And I would do it all in one day. I would go out and shoot for 12 hours and then do everything else, like all the developing, scanning, posting. So I just love it. But again, I'm sure you're going to hear a lot of people that are going to say similar things. But I think not many people are talking about shooting film as a reaction to the over-curated lives we're all living now. And I guess film photography is just my way of reacting to it. That's it. All right, I will see you guys soon. I'm trying to do more videos. I will have one guaranteed every week. If you guys are enjoying the content, please like and subscribe. It's hard work. It's harder than you might think if you've never made a video. It's hard to put yourself out there. I'm going to be honest. I don't like putting myself out there. I'm a photographer. I like being behind the camera, and being in front of it has not been easy, but I enjoy talking about film photography. It's one of my many passions, and it's a big one. I mean, I've devoted my whole work life to photography, so I will see you guys soon.